All right, you guys today are going to be doing the 3-3 notes by yourself. What's nice about 3-3 is none of this should be new information. This is all stuff you have learned before. So these are all things about slope. Slope is a couple different things. So it's the rate of change of any kind of function. So if we're talking about rate of change, that means we're talking about change in y over change in x. If we're talking about on a graph, then we're talking about rise over run. And if we're talking about slope, actually on the coordinate plane, which I'm going to put over here so I have some more space, that is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All things you've talked about before, most likely the rise over run and the m are the most familiar. So if we are talking about the coordinate plane to find the rise over run, we're always going to start on the left point whenever physically possible. That way we can just go up and down and not worry about left or right. If we're going up, that means it's a positive number. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 is on my top. That is my rise. Then we're going to move to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we can reduce our fraction, we must reduce our fraction. So 4 over 6 reduces to 2 over 3. Over here, number 2, again, if we can start on the left, we are going to want to start on the left. Now, when we go down, that means our number is going to be negative. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top. And then we're going over 1. When it comes to simplifying that, we can and we should just write that as -5. We just want to remember when we're talking about the graph that technically that is over 1, so our run is 1 there. There is run. These two at the bottom are different. So if we look at this number 3, if I start on the left, there isn't really a left, so I'm going to start at the bottom. Doesn't really matter. I can have a rise. I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when it comes to going over or to the right or left, there isn't any, so we would have a 0 on the bottom. Now, we can't divide by 0. Your answer is not 5 over 0. If we are dividing by 0, if we have a vertical line straight up and down, the slope is undefined. Undefined is a vertical slope. We're going to talk about equations next, but this would be an x equals line. When we have a horizontal line, so I would start on my left, I would go up 0, and then I would go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Doesn't really matter, but I would go over. If I do 0 divided by 7, if you plug that in your calculator, if you're not sure, you get 0. So a horizontal line, which is just y equals a number, is going to be a 0 slope. If you ever forget which is undefined, which is 0, plug it into your calculator. If you do 5 divided by 0, you're going to get some kind of error. If you do 0 divided by 7, you're going to get 0. So when you're looking at a line, you can tell whether the slope is going to be a positive number, a negative number, 0, or undefined just by looking at it. Positive slope, as we move from left to right, is going to go up as we read. Negative slope, as we move from left to right, is going to go down. And again, both of these would have numbers for their slope. We just know that this is a positive number and this is a negative number. A 0 slope, like we said, is a horizontal line. And again, this would be y equals a number. Undefined is going to be straight up and down. And again, that would be x equals some number. So when we are on that coordinate plane, I'm sorry, just kidding, not yet. This is going to be that rate of change. that we talked about. So it says in 2000, the average annual sales for one manufacturer of camping supplies was 48.9 million. That is going to be my starting X and my starting Y. Then after that, in 2005, the annual sales was 85.9 million. So this is going to be my ending X and my ending Y. So we're going to find that change in Y over change in X. Now, when it has the word millions, I am not going to plug in a whole bunch of zeros, okay? I'm just going to know that my answer is in millions. So I'm going to have 48. Nope, I'm not. I'm going to do my change. So I'm going to start with the end. Sorry. We got 85.9 minus 48.9. Again, end minus start. And then on the bottom, I've got my change in X. So my end is 2005. My start is 2000. And then we're going to do the math. So we got 85.9 minus 48.9. I got 37 on the top. On the bottom, I've got 2005 minus 2000. That is 5. So if we're talking rise over run, we would want to leave it as a fraction. But in terms of this story problem, we're going to want to make it a decimal. When we divide it, we get 7.4. So again, that answer is in millions. And what this number means is that every year we are increasing because it's a positive. So that by increasing each year by this amount. Okay, so as we go up every single year, we are adding or increasing by $7.4 million in sales. That's what that means in terms of the problem. And that right there would be your answer. Next up, parallel lines. Parallel lines are going to be, again, those lines that don't intersect or don't cross. These parallel lines are going to have, again, that's your parallel line symbol, same slope. Same slope. So if we look at our picture here, L, that is this line here, is parallel to M. And again, those are lowercase cursive letters. And if we look at their slopes, both of them have a slope of 4. Same slope. On the other side of that, we've got perpendicular lines. And again, the perpendicular symbol looks like this. These slopes are opposite, meaning sign, so positive to negative or negative to positive, reciprocals. And I never spell this right, reciprocals. When we talk about reciprocals, that's when we take that fraction and we flip it upside down. So just as an example, if I have 5 over 6, the reciprocal would be 6 over 5. And then if we want the opposite reciprocal, we would want negative 6 over 5. So in our example here, it doesn't matter whether you look at L or M, they are both perpendicular. We could say L, what am I erasing? L is perpendicular to P. And if we look at their slopes, one of the slopes is 4. The other slope, if I flip that 4, so again, if we need to imagine a 4 over 1, I'm going to flip it upside down, and then I want the opposite sign. So there's my negative 1/4. So these problems are going to ask you, is it parallel? That would mean same slope. Are they perpendicular? That's going to be opposite reciprocals. Or neither would be none of those things. In order to compare, you're going to have to find each slope first. This is where we're going to have to remember how to find slope on the coordinate plane, which is that y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we got x1, y1, x2, y2, because AB is one of my lines. So we got y2 minus y1, be careful with your minusing negatives, over x2 minus x1. Again, be careful with the negatives. I'm going to choom. So I get 12 on the top and I get 6 on the bottom. Reduce possible, we get 2. We're going to do the other one. We got CD. Again, if you need to label, label. This time, -2 minus 2 on the top, 8 minus 0 on the bottom. So when we take -2 minus 2, we get -4. When we take 8 minus 0, we get 8. When we reduce that, we get -1/2. So finding the slopes is part of the problem and it is part of your answer, but you also need to decide parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So this is my slope of AB, this is my slope of CD, and we're going to compare the two numbers. If they were exactly the same, we would say these lines are parallel. If they're opposite reciprocals, which if we take 2 over 1 and we flip it, we get 1 over 2. And then we want the opposite, so that would be negative. So these are opposite reciprocals. We're going to say that these lines are perpendicular. And I would prefer that you use the perpendicular symbol. You can write it out with words if you really want to, but I think the symbol is easier. If we were to look at those slopes and none of those things were true, then we would go with neither. All right, so I want you to pause and you are going to do this one at the top. So you're going to find the slope of AB, you're going to find the slope of CD, and then you're going to ask yourself parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So pause the video and do this problem. Just to make sure that you got it right, we've got -4 minus -8 on the top. And we've, oh, sorry, hold on. Undo. -4 minus 7. Let's do that correctly. On the top. And then +4 minus -8 on the bottom. We got a choom. We get +3 on the top. We get 12 on the bottom. So my slope here is 1/4. And that would be AB. Other one we're going to do, let's make that a different color. We've got 7 minus -5 on the top. We've got 1 minus -2 on the bottom. We're going to choom. We're going to get 12 on the top. We're going to get 3 on the bottom. We're going to simplify. This would be my CD slope. Okay. Now, when I look at these, yes, they are reciprocals, but they are both positive, so they are not opposite reciprocals. So this one would be neither. And yes, you can just use the word neither. I've got someone knocking on my door, so I'm going to pause and we will have to come back to this. All right, sorry. Part 2. Last 2 pieces here are going to be graphing lines that are either parallel or perpendicular that contain certain points. And we do want to graph both lines when we do this. So I'm going to start by graphing CD, which would be -2, -3. That is my C. And then 2, 0, that is my D. And you're going to use a nice ruler. I don't have a ruler, but you're going to draw a nice, beautifully straight line with a ruler. Then we also want our A, which would be -3, 0. That is going to be a part of my line. But I need to find my slope for that line. And I want that line to be parallel to CD. So I want it to have the same slope as CD. So we are going to find the slope of CD. Now, I guess technically, now that we do have our graph, we could use rise over run, but I'm going to do it the points way. We're going to do 0 minus -3 on the top. We're going to do 2 minus -2 on the bottom. We got some chooming to do. We got 3 over 4. This is the slope of slope of CD. If we want to be parallel, we want that same slope. Same slope. So that's also going to be our slope. So what you're going to do is from A, I'm going to use a different color here. You're going to go up 1, 2, 3. That's your rise. And you're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be my other point. And we're going to draw a nice straight line using our ruler. And that right there would technically be your answer, but I do want you to have both of them. Make sure you label your points with the letters A, C, D, and then that would be your line that you have. I would like you to try and do this one. Okay, so you're going to pause in a second, but what you want is we want to have P on our line. We want to be perpendicular, so we have to remember what that means, to QR. And here's Q and there's R. Make sure you also graph QR. So pause and try, and then we will walk through it. Okay, now I'm going to do it. So we've got Q. I guess we can do it this way. First, we're going to find the slope of QR. I'm going to do it points first, then I'm going to graph. So we've got 6 minus -2 on the top. We've got 0 minus -6 on the bottom. We've got 8 on the top, 6 on the bottom, which reduces to 4 over 3. So that right there is the slope of QR. And I do need to graph QR. So we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go down 1, 2. That is my Q. My R is at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is my R. Again, use a ruler, make a perfectly nice straight line. Now, my line needs to have P in it. P is up here. So P is at 0, 1. So this is my P. Now, we need a slope for P, which I should label that in a different spot. Slope for P. This is the slope of QR, and we want to be perpendicular. Perpendicular means opposite reciprocal. So this is positive, so we want to be negative, and then we're going to flip it. It was 4 over 3, so it becomes 3 over 4. So this is the slope of my line. So from this P, which again, I'll change colors for you. From P, we're going to go down, because it's negative, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to draw our nice, perfectly straight, again, use a ruler line. Remember, perpendicular means that they form 90-degree angles. So when you do this, you should be making a right angle right there. If you don't make a right angle, that means something is wrong. That's why I want you to graph both lines, because I want you to see that this is a right angle. And I want you to double check up here that these two lines are in fact not going to cross or intersect. If you have more questions, you can send me an email. I will do my best to respond. Otherwise, I will talk with you guys when I get back.